On the third anniversary of our marriage, Jade made this huge public love confession to her first love on the big screen in the central square. We're never going to have to miss each other like this ever again. Of course, I had to ask her why it had to be tonight. She shrugged like it was no big deal and said, "Because this day's important to you. When you get mad, it just makes him happier. And that makes him love me even more." I posted their little declaration online, captioning it a blessing for eternal love. But as soon as the video went viral, Jade logged into my account and quickly deleted it. As expected, the scolding phone call followed. "I was just trying to make him happy. Do you really have to overreact? Your petty behavior is disgusting." The next second, I got a photo of Jade with her first love, Henry James. They were kissing full-on in French style. In the past, I would have lost it, but this time I chose to stay calm and just walk away. Then Jade finally came home. Around dawn, I woke up to the noise she was making. "Luke, I was only gone for one night. Why are you acting like this is a big deal?" Glancing at the mess on the dining table, I didn't say anything. I went straight to wash up. Jade is somewhat obsessed with cleanliness, so I knew the sight of the mess I left behind from my solo candle at dinner would get on her nerves. Usually I would have cleaned it up and waited for her, stubbornly hoping she'd come home before morning. But after seeing that photo of them from Henry last night, I felt oddly relieved. I drank some wine, slept soundly, and didn't even bother leaving the lights on or waiting on the couch. It was peaceful. "I'm talking to you. Are you deaf?" Jade snapped. I spat out the toothpaste and replied, "If you can't stand it, clean it up yourself." Her face darkened. To my surprise, she rolled up her sleeves and cleaned the mess. When she noticed the 10 empty wine bottles, her brow furrowed. "You drank all of these by yourself?" When we got married, we purchased 10 bottles of wine together, promising to open one every 10 years to celebrate our anniversary. But last night, I only had one glass. The rest I poured it down the drain. Besides, I didn't feel like explaining it, so I just nodded. Meanwhile, she looked shocked, mistaking my silence for sorrow. "And I couldn't get your favorite soup dumplings. But the seafood porridge from next door is just as good. Some to fill your stomach. I'll make you some hangover soup," I replied stingily. Oh, it was classic Jade. She would slap me, then try to appease me with a sweet gesture. It was her usual way of manipulating me, but of course I didn't call her out on it. 10 minutes earlier, Henry had posted on his social media, "Someone went to the pier before dawn to get the freshest seafood, just to make me a bowl of seafood porridge." Feeling blessed in the photo, the woman who wouldn't normally lift a finger in the kitchen is wearing a dark apron and focused on preparing seafood. Contrasting with the woman in front of me, I opened Jade's food container to find the porridge cold with just a few pieces of scallion and celery. There was no seafood. I tossed it in the trash just as she turned around. "Luke, I waited in line to get that for you, and this is how you act so ungrateful?" She thought if she told a lie to please me, I should just let it slide. With a blank expression, I said, "I can't eat seafood right now." Her hand froze mid-slice as she cut ginger. "Stop being so dramatic," she snapped. I knew exactly what she really wanted to say. After venting her frustration, she focused on making the hangover soup. But it was nothing compared to the effort she put into that seafood porridge for Henry. Right then, Jade's phone buzzed. She gestured for me to hand it over. I glanced at the screen. It was a message from Henry. I read it aloud. "Jade, I feel like the happiest man in the world." Jade hadn't expected me to read it out loud. And in a teasing tone no less, she immediately exploded, smashing the plate she was holding. "Can you stop being such a jerk for once?" A shard from the plate cut my foot, and I felt a sharp pain as the blood started pouring out. I looked at her and said, "Isn't this how Henry talks to you?" Jade was queasy around blood, so she immediately leaned against the stove, panicking. "You idiot. Can't you move? Don't think that getting hurt will make me care about you." I ignored her, grabbing the first aid kit to stop the bleeding. When I realized the cut wasn't healing quickly, I wrapped my foot and got ready to head to the hospital, but Jade insisted I drink the hangover soup first. I wasn't drunk at all, and I definitely didn't want to drink anything she made in a hurry. The hot soup spilled all over her hand, instantly causing blisters. She let out a soft hiss of pain, but didn't curse like she usually would. "You're deliberately making this harder for me, aren't you? Fine. We'll both go to the hospital now." When we got to the parking garage, Jade offered to drive. Since my foot was killing me, I didn't argue as I slid into the back seat. She couldn't resist a sarcastic jab. "What, is the front seat cursed or something?" I rolled down the window, needing some air. No curse, but the car reeked of Henry's cologne. Feeling her eyes on me, I replied casually, "You don't do well with blood." That seemed to settle her down a bit. "I spilled some perfume yesterday. The smell's probably still hanging around," Jade explained, handing me a half-empty bottle. "I actually made this as your anniversary gift, but I spilled half of it. You can still have it, though, if you don't mind. I didn't touch it. I don't do leftovers. Whether it's food, someone else's perfume, or anything secondhand, including women." I just leaned back and said, "My foot's bleeding all over your car. Can we get to the hospital already?" Jade went quiet. Her little attempt at kindness fell flat, but she kept glancing at me through the rearview mirror like she had something on her mind. The drive to the hospital was quiet, but the air was thick with resentment. As soon as we arrived, I insisted on limping to the reception on my own, refusing Jade's help or even a glance in her direction. She followed me, but I kept cold and distant. The doctor said the cut didn't need stitches, just a proper cleaning and dressing, with a recommendation to rest. Jade sat the entire time scrolling through her phone, probably waiting for a message from Henry. It made my stomach turn. On the way back, she tried to start a conversation, but I shut it down with short, indifferent responses. "Are you okay, Luke?" "Sure. Do you want to eat something?" "No." I knew my calmness was unsettling her, and that's exactly what I wanted. She was used to me blowing up, to seeing me lash out and fight, but I was done. There was no anger left, just exhaustion. As soon as we got home, I went straight to the bedroom, leaving her alone with her thoughts. A few minutes later, she followed me inside, standing silently in the doorway. "Luke, can we talk?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I turned slowly, facing her with a tired gaze. "Talk about what, Jade? How you spent the day with Henry while I was here alone? Or how you make declarations of eternal love to him while playing house with me?" She swallowed hard, realizing the conversation wasn't going the way she expected. "I didn't want things to end up like this, Luke. I don't know what I'm doing." I let out a bitter laugh. "I know exactly what you're doing. You're keeping me as your backup, your safety net in case things with him don't work out. But I'm done, Jade." She stepped forward, trying to touch me, but I backed away. "Don't," I warned. "You made your choice when you stood up on that screen and confessed your love for him. Now it's my turn to make mine." I walked to the closet, grabbed a suitcase, and began tossing clothes into it. Jade stood frozen, disbelief written all over her face. "You're not serious," she whispered. "I've never been more serious," I replied. "I've spent too long trying to fix something that's been broken from the start. I deserve better than being a pawn in your game." She dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, just relief. For the first time in years, her tears had no hold over me. I zipped up the suitcase and headed for the door. "Luke, please don't leave me," she begged, her voice trembling. "You've been leaving me every day for years," I replied calmly, closing the door behind me. The sense of freedom was immediate. It felt like I had shed a heavy weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. The night air was cool, and for the first time in a long while, the future didn't seem like something to fear. It felt like an open road, full of possibilities. I walked aimlessly through the quiet streets, letting my mind wander. Each step felt like closing a chapter, each block a weight lifting off my shoulders. Eventually, I found myself at an all-night diner. I smiled, a genuine smile I hadn't felt in years, and walked inside. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window, watching the world go by without a care. As the steam from my coffee curled up, my phone buzzed again. I didn't need to check to know it was Jade. She had been calling and texting nonstop since I left. I ignored them all. It was always the same. Fights, tears, promises, more fights, and even more pain. But not anymore. This time, I was free. After finishing my coffee, I knew the next step was finding a place to stay. I called a trusted friend who knew everything about Jade and had warned me about her long ago. "Luke?" he answered, his voice groggy from sleep. "Yeah, it's me. I need a favor. I knew this day would come. Get over here. My place is yours." He replied without hesitation. I arrived at his apartment, a modest but peaceful place that offered exactly what I needed: distance from Jade. I collapsed on the couch, exhausted but strangely content. For the first time in years, I slept soundly, without nightmares. When I woke up, my phone was flooded with messages from Jade. The first few were apologies and promises to change. Then came the insults and accusations. The last message was a thinly veiled threat. If you think you can leave me and move on, you're dead wrong. I exhaled slowly. I expected this. Jade couldn't handle rejection, especially not from someone she saw as beneath her precious Henry. But this time, her words had no power over me. I ignored the messages and moved on with my day, knowing she would spiral into her own chaos. Later that afternoon, I took a decisive step I'd been avoiding for years. I went to the bank and closed all our joint accounts. I also initiated the divorce process, making it clear through my lawyer that I wanted nothing from her, only my freedom. The papers were sent, cutting off all direct communication with her. As I expected, Jade tried everything to get under my skin. She called my friends, showed up at my workplace, and flooded social media with dramatic posts, painting herself as the perfect victim. In every post, she hinted that I had abandoned our marriage because I couldn't handle a strong woman like her. But none of it fazed me. Each day that passed only confirmed that I had made the right decision. One night, I got an unexpected message from Henry. It was brief. "She's all yours now." Attached was a photo of Jade, crying on the sidewalk outside his building, clearly discarded like a broken toy. Just as I knew he would do eventually. I didn't reply. I simply deleted the message and blocked his number. There was no space in my life for these people anymore. A few weeks later, I received confirmation that the divorce was finalized. Jade made one last desperate attempt to contest the agreement, demanding a share of my assets. But her lawyer crumbled in court. With no evidence or valid claims, the judge saw through her manipulation, and she walked away with nothing. Freedom was finally mine. As time went on, my life began to rebuild itself. I found a new job, made new friends, and rediscovered joy in life's small moments. The pain and chaos that had once consumed me faded into a distant memory, like a bad dream I had finally woken up from. One day, out of curiosity, I walked through the central square where Jade had made her grand declaration to Henry. The place had changed, renovated, and full of life. But to me, it was just a silent reminder of everything I had survived. As I strolled through the square, I spotted Jade in the distance, sitting alone with a vacant, lost expression on her face. I felt no anger, no pity, only indifference. She tried to cross paths with me, but I kept walking, never looking back. There was nothing left for me there. I was free. After months of freedom, I started to reorganize myself and rebuild my self-esteem. I found a new job and made new friends, people who helped me realize something I had never understood before. Just walking away from Jade wasn't enough. I needed to teach her a lesson. No one walks all over me without facing the consequences. The divorce wasn't enough to end things. Jade kept circling back into my life, throwing shade, spreading rumors, and playing the victim on social media. She tried to manipulate anyone within reach, but this time, I wasn't going to let it happen. I had to act, not with anger, but with precision. I started small. I got close to Jade's closest friends, the ones she believed were loyal to her. I listened, stayed patient, and let them vent about Jade's instability. Before long, they opened up to me more than I had expected. I subtly planted doubts in their minds, gently guiding them toward the realization that Jade might not be the loyal friend she claimed to be. Their own words fueled the narrative I was building. Meanwhile, I kept tabs on Jade's every move on social media, using fake accounts to monitor her activity. It didn't take long to uncover that she was desperately trying to get back with Henry. Predictably, he had already lost interest. Her obsession with him made her vulnerable, and I intended to use that to my advantage. That's when I put the next part of my plan into action. I discovered that Jade had lied to everyone about our divorce, telling them that I had abandoned her without any reason. Armed with this knowledge, I anonymously leaked conversations and photos that proved she had been cheating on me with Henry throughout our marriage. The internet, as expected, ate it up. The gossip spread like wildfire. Jade unraveled. She called me dozens of times and sent frantic messages, but I ignored them all. She begged for explanations, alternated between threats and apologies, but I stayed cold and distant. There was nothing she could say that would make me change course. This was only the beginning. Shortly after, I leaked word that Henry had been seeing other women, confirming what I had long suspected. I made sure that Jade heard about it through the right channels. The result was predictable. She confronted Henry publicly, and he humiliated her without hesitation, discarding her like a broken toy. While Jade sank deeper into her own mess, I was building something real. I started a new relationship with an amazing woman who respected me for who I was. I posted pictures of us traveling, smiling, living the life I deserved. Meanwhile, Jade's social media turned into a chaotic spiral of desperate posts and bitter jabs. Everyone noticed the contrast. While I thrived, she withered. Then I decided to end it all with one final blow. I met with Jade one last time. She was a wreck, disheveled, with deep bags under her eyes. She looked at me with tearful eyes, hoping for a shred of mercy. But I had none left to give. "You said you loved me, Luke," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I did love you, Jade," I replied, my tone cold. "But you destroyed everything. And now, you'll learn that some people don't come back after you step on them." I turned my back and walked away, not sparing her a second glance. As I walked away, a sense of peace washed over me. The cycle was finally over, and I didn't feel anger or regret, just relief. She had tried to destroy me, but in the end, I was the one who came out on top. And revenge had never tasted so sweet.